Why do horse people always lose their minds when I'm on vacation? Damn you. On the 26th of July 2024, a private server called BetterSSO for StarStable Online was made public. This server was the 2017 version of StarStable Online, with the older graphics, older story, older gameplay, which essentially meant it was kind of StarStable Classic. Now this is a huge thing, as for a very long time, a lot of players have been hankering for this specific experience, for the old classic version of SSO, because a lot of our memories and love for the game really is rooted in this old nostalgic time. But when people launched this client, their antiviruses started flagging several viruses, and a lot of players became concerned over the legitimacy of this download. Furthermore, the developer added paid features like Star Raider and essentially Star Coins, which further raised the question of the legality of this private server. And some other accusations were also made, some claiming their information was stolen, others saying that the devs stole their money. To be quite frank, it's quite a mess. Now this video is going to take a look at this private server and see what is true and what is just hearsay. And then we will also dive into the legality of private servers and give the developer a chance to also share their side of the story. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to thank my Ko-Fi supporters for being more awesome than getting a top-tier Gypsy Vanner in Red Dead Redemption Online, which I got during my vacation. She's adorable, isn't she? Her name is Plague. Let's get into it. To start off, let's first take a look at what exactly happened and what the concerns are about this server. As stated, the BetterSSO server was launched on the 26th of July 2024 and it hosted a 2017 version of the game. Initially, people got pretty excited for it and very much nostalgic when they were playing it. But then, a couple of hours later, a lot of players started raising concerns over not only the legality, but also the legitimacy of it. A group by the name of Horsey Game Preservation would run the client, the thing you're using to connect to this server, through a virus tester online and would find a lot of viruses on the client. This would lead to a borderline mass hysteria, with players claiming their information was stolen, their bank accounts were being cleaned out, and some even saying that their credit card information was being used. TikTokers and YouTubers would jump on this and they would only fan the flames. Shortly thereafter, StarStable would make an announcement telling kids to, and I quote, "A friendly reminder to always download your games from trusted sources such as official websites, and in SSO's case, we only offer our game from StarStable.com, Apple Store, Google Play Store, and Epic Store. Be cautious about where you put your login credentials and avoid downloading anything you're uncertain about. Your gaming journey should always be fun and secure. Stay safe and ride on." And then they would proceed to remove this announcement very shortly thereafter and not say another word about it. Thanks. Really, thank you for caring, SSO. What I did find funny about the situation, though, was that they specifically make mention of adding your login details, but this server only asks for a newly created password and username. No email required. So you're not really giving out your login information, you're just making a new character without an email. Now in all of this, the dev of the server would make a short announcement saying that he was pretty disappointed in the players because the reaction was over the top and he had made this server for fun. He further stated that he'll decide whether he will keep this server open for long term, but will continue to run it for 40 days to ensure the people who did buy into it can get their money's worth. Only a few days ago, the dev's Discord account was banned and the website was taken down where you could download the client. But as of now, the private server is still running. Overall, the concerns about the server were malware, stealing of information, spyware, the dev's character being called into question, and possibly shutting down of StarStable accounts. But all of this has been ignored in favor of playing the version of StarStable because, as the people say, they want to have that old nostalgic feel again. As you can see, we've got a lot to cover in this video, from viruses to nostalgia. But first, I think it appropriate to discuss exactly what private servers are, how they work, and whether they are illegal, because all of that is really the crux of the matter. We're going to be covering a lot in this video, from the nostalgia element to the viruses, but first I think it appropriate to discuss exactly what are private servers and how they work. A definition for a private server is, strictly, a private server is any machine or virtual machine used as a server that is privately administrated. Colloquially, the term is nearly exclusively used to refer to independently operated unofficial servers for video games. So, in very plain terms, these are unofficial servers for massive multiplayer online games. Now, the key thing for private servers is that they allow independent devs to modify, alter, or even enhance the original experience. We're going to use World of Warcraft as the main example for all of these Examples. In World of Warcraft, there are private servers that double your leveling XP, making leveling faster and more fun, allow you to create top-level characters from the start, negating all leveling and allowing you to just start raids and endgame content from the get-go, let you play specific versions of World of Warcraft, for example, the Lich King. But the main question is, how do these servers work? How is it possible to play the old game if they aren't using the assets? Did this dev essentially steal SSO's game? Not exactly. To understand how this private server works, we first have to understand how online gaming works. I'm going to oversimplify this shit because I am both trying to make it simple and to appease the hackers. We'll find out in the comments if I was successful. To start off, you have a client and a server. The client is the physical game on your PC. This has all the assets and visual parts of the game, the so-called physical elements like the world, the characters and animation. The service or server has the information you need to be able to play. So basically, when you are playing SSO, your game on your PC, or the client as it's called, is constantly communicating with the server or service from StarStable. You are requesting information and the server responds by giving you the information you're requesting and then updating as you go. So, as an example, when you launch the game, the server reads your account and then sends you the stats of your character. Once you complete a quest, the server reads the quest number, completes it, and updates your XP. So, constant communication between server and client is required to ensure for a proper experience. If the two are not communicating well, you will, for example, rubber band across the map, because the server is getting delayed information about your position and will update once it has that information, making you or the players around you jump around the area. Now, what a dev is trying to do is essentially circumvent SSO server and get the client to talk and communicate with their own private server. The way they do this is by figuring out what information is being sent when between the two and giving that information to the client through their own server through a newly written code. This takes a lot of work and understanding of the code itself for this to even be possible. And this is also the reason why some features aren't available on this server yet, because it takes time to learn and understand the original code and then rewrite it in a way that will work. You're essentially figuring out a different language. Now, I am blatantly avoiding terms like decompile, debug, and reverse engineering, because we'll be here all day if I have to explain everything about how this works. But it comes down to communication and learning how that communication works, and then using that knowledge to make a server communicate with a client. In the case of this dev, they actually went a little further and tried to display older information, and this asked for even more time. Basically, the current 2024 version of the game would be a lot easier to recreate because the information is still actively being sent back and forth every day between players and the server, making it easier to find, break down, and rewrite. But because he decided to make it 2017's version, he essentially had to figure out different ways to do that from the ground up. So basically, this was a lot of work, but all of this means that he has made it possible for other developers to now use his 2017 version to go even further back into older versions of the game. Someone could now much easier recreate a 2012 version of the game as an example. However, what all of this really means is that the dev did not directly steal SSO's assets. He is sort of borrowing them for his own server. Now, we'll get into the legality of this a little later, but before we do that, we first have to talk about malware, because that has a lot to do with communication. Since this private service release, a lot of viruses have been detected upon downloading or launching. Players have claimed their information have been stolen, their credit card, bank details, emails, private information, everything from top to bottom has been taken or shared, so not good at all. But let's take a closer look at exactly what the heck is going on. Firstly, we have the launcher. When ran through a virus detection program, we are shown a Trojan virus warning and a malware virus warning. For those who might not know, a Trojan horse virus is a type of malware that downloads onto a computer disguised as a legitimate legitimate program. The other warning, malware, is a software that is specifically designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to a computer system. Malware is a particularly nasty thing and can steal your data or even destroy your computer systems. There have even been reports of hardware malfunctions. But so far, a lot of players have played and enjoyed the game with no issue. I've received a lot more reports of this download and server working fine than I have received reports of people having problems. I am in the Discord and people seem to be perfectly happy with this client. So if people are enjoying this, then it does mean that it's most likely not a Trojan virus because it is a legitimate program. So then why is it that it is picking it up as a Trojan or as malware? The first and obvious answer is that it is carrying a lot of viruses. These viruses might not be seen or felt at first and could potentially hook onto innocuous programs and begin grabbing keystrokes or other data. It could be anything from spyware that spies on you to ransomware that essentially enables hackers to take your PC hostage and then release it again later for a price. The danger of downloading unknown or unverified software must be emphasized. It is very easy, especially for hackers, to slip viruses into programs, as the dev says himself. Exploits are being pushed into open source software every day, and even when 1,000 people look for them, they can't see them. Exploits being programs, of course, that take advantage of security flaws and potentially add even more malware. So, now that everyone is thoroughly freaking out, there is another far more benign explanation for why the client is being flagged as a virus. Because your antivirus could possibly see this launcher as a sort of crack. For anyone who has ever downloaded a cracked version of a game, malware and Trojan warnings are probably quite familiar. The cracks in the zip file are often flagged because of unusual behavior that your system flags as a problem. Your antivirus cannot always determine why something is strange or different, and so declares it as dangerous to be on the safe side. This is a good thing, as the more sensitive and cautious an antivirus program is, the safer your PC will be. But how does this relate to private servers? And why is our antivirus going nuts when we're launching the private server? Because possibly the client is behaving strangely because of the DLL or dynamic link library injections. My fried his brain, but let's move on. These injectors force external DLLs to be ran, ones that were not initially part of the game. They are used for debugging and they make it possible to change games. Certain mods runs with DLLs. Dragon Age players, you know what I'm talking about. Now, the problem is a lot of malware can disguise itself as DLLs, and so when an antivirus spots one, it will immediately flag it. This again happens with my dear Dragon Age, where DLL files will be deleted for no other reason than existing, and then I have to go onto a merry excursion onto the internet to go and find them again so that I can play my fucking game.
Hawk said sarcastically.
You know, I hate it when you do that.
Antiviruses are getting smarter and more secure, so this is more than likely the reason for this. Essentially, it's a sort of false flag, meaning it's not really a virus, but the antivirus treats it like one to ensure your safety. This is very good. This is very good. It's good that antiviruses are like this, because now you're staying safe. The other possibility is, of course, that the client is just full of viruses. We can't really throw this argument out just because there is a possible another explanation. And by the amount of viruses being picked up by this program, it is quite possible that the client just simply has viruses. However, as of now, I have not seen any sort of proof that anyone's accounts or credit cards were cleaned out or maxed out, or that anything has been stolen. In fact, there are people who are now trolling to get even more reaction, which is just further muddying the waters and making it more difficult to figure out what's really happening. I'm not saying no one has been harmed. What I'm saying is that most of what is being shared is hearsay, or in this case, hilarious. However, if you have been directly harmed by this private server, please be sure to send me a screenshot or information regarding it, as I'm very happy to be proved wrong here. But I want to make this clear, this section isn't here to argue that the launcher is fine or to tell people to go and download this launcher. No, the point is rather to educate. Private servers have been a staple of online gaming since its inception. There will always be people who can and will reverse engineer games to create different or unique experiences for the community. Seeing these malware and Trojan warnings only brought back memories of trying to play cracked versions of games. Heck, a lot of us actually play cracked versions of old horse games because they simply do not exist in a legitimate form anymore. In this way, old software is kept alive as well, like Alicia Online. Alicia Online was a game from 2013 that shut down pretty quickly by online game standards. The only way to play this game today is by playing it on illegitimate or private servers. there are no legitimate servers for this game open anymore, so it is what people would call abandonware. When trying to download the launcher, your PC will more than likely flag it as a problem, and running it through a virus test will also show viruses detected. To be fair, there aren't as many viruses here as with the client for BetterSSO, but I felt it was at least worth mentioning. Again, don't go download this, keep your PC safe. I'm just trying to give context about what's possibly going on, but stay safe. But all of this really pushes us into the next question, and that is any of this legal? To start this section off, let's first ask another question. What is the point of a private server? Why do people run them? In general, these private servers give unique and custom experiences one cannot always find in the mainstream game. Like, for example, your characters can level faster, you can give players all the horses in the game, and so on and so forth. But most importantly, most of these servers are free, or at least provisionally free. Most of these private server games can be played without needing to pay a cent. Payment is usually made for cosmetics or other boons in-game, and usually fall under the concept of donations. I won't go into the changes and issues private servers have been plagued with of late, but suffice it to say, these servers can and do make money. So beyond giving more unique experiences, money is also a factor, and most of you are more than likely already seeing the problem here. If we go back to the WoW servers we discussed earlier, we can see that they were and are making money off of the IP of Blizzard, and this is of course copyright infringement. In an article from Geek Flare, which lists the top best private servers for WoW, they also state players must be cautioned against using a private WoW server, as those servers often lack the level of security provided by official WoW servers. Additionally, private WoW servers are pirated and infringe upon the intellectual property rights of Blizzard Entertainment. In another article from OBS Countdown, is it worth it to open a private WoW server? They state in the section regarding profits. Attention! I am not recommending in any way to open a World of Warcraft private server for the public, especially for profits. This violates the terms of use of the actual game and could lead to serious action against you. Do it at your own risk." End quote. Now, going to Blizzard's terms of use, especially for private servers, they state private or pirate WoW servers. Private WoW servers are against the Blizzard terms of use. If you want to play World of Warcraft, you must download the official game client through Blizzard app. End quote. So, according to Blizzard themselves, it is against the terms of use to run private, or as they call it, pirate servers. But then why, some of you ask, is there a top 10 private WoW server list online? And why are they not being taken down with a vengeance by such a company? For Blizzard, the answer is simple. They have over 8 million players. A couple of servers that have around 40 to 50,000 players in total is really not going to affect them in any meaningful way. Unless it does, like in the case of Nostalrius. Nostalrius was a private WoW server that essentially allowed players to play World of Warcraft Classic or the original version of World of Warcraft. But this server at one point had over 130,000 active players. This should give you a very good idea of how desperate people were to play the original game. This private server pushed Blizzard to create a WoW Classic version of the game, but Nostalrius would be shut down by Blizzard in a very heartless way. The story is quite intricate, and I will leave a link for those who want to learn more, as it gets pretty petty and weird from Blizzard's side, but the end result was that Nostalrius was shut down and Blizzard launched WoW Classic. Now, this should also be an indicator of how powerful these private servers can be. They can show companies what players really want and what they desperately want in their game. A great example of a company that understood this was Rockstar, the creators of the Red Dead Redemption IP. RedM is, and I quote, a multiplayer modification framework for Red Dead Redemption 2, allowing you to play on customized, dedicated servers. RedM has been around since about the start of the game and has made it possible to keep the Red Dead community alive thanks to dedicated modders and devs. So, the question is RedM illegal? Technically, they do much the same as the private WoW servers, and surely Rockstar would have a lot of failsafes to protect their IP. But yes, RedM is completely legal, and you will receive absolutely no backlash from Rockstar if you play on it, because Rockstar made it part of their terms of use. On the 11th of August 2023, Rockstar made this statement for their community. Today we are proud to announce that the team behind the biggest Rockstar role-playing creator communities, 5M and RedM, are now officially a part of Rockstar Games. So, if you've been hesitating or concerned about playing RedM, hesitate no more. Rockstar has condoned it themselves. But the point is that private servers can be legal. Minecraft and Roblox are excellent examples of private servers not only being fine, but actively encouraged. Rockstar is just a great example of a company embracing these servers and seeing their potential. Although, to be fair, they more than likely did this because they had no plans to update Red Dead Redemption Online, and the best solution was to get us to do the work for them. Just a thought. But with all of this explained and looked at, we now have to turn to StarStable. The point of all of this was essentially that the terms of use or service determines whether your server is legal or not. Whenever you create a character or install a game, you are expected to sign and adhere to the terms of service. Not doing so can result in a permanent ban from the game, or in some cases, even legal action being taken against you. So what does StarStable's terms of service say about private servers? Section 17, Copyright. You are not allowed to reproduce, publish, distribute, sell, license, decompile, disassemble, reverse engineer, modify, translate, or adapt the StarStable property in any way except for the limited license granted to you by StarStable as stated below. End quote. This section further points to Section 11, your license to use the game / or service. As part of the license, you agree that you will not, under any circumstances, redistribute, sell, or otherwise copy any product and or service offered by StarStable, alter or attempt to alter, decompile, reverse engineer, disassemble, or otherwise reduce StarStable to a human-readable form, except to the extent applicable law specifically prohibits such restriction. 9. Creates any other software, product, or service that incorporates StarStable. End quote. That should make it pretty clear. Creating a software or code to run StarStable is against terms of service. Reverse engineering is against terms of service. Using the game for commercial purpose is, well, against terms of service. And unfortunately, this private server ticks all the boxes. BetterSSO goes against ToS. However, this doesn't mean it is illegal, as breaking terms of service does not always mean that what you're doing is illegal. The most they can do is really terminate your account. But the ToS certainly opens the door for legal action. Let me explain. In 2010, Blizzard won a lawsuit against Scapegaming, a private server that had around 32,000 players daily. In total, 427,000. In the lawsuit, Blizzard accused Scapegaming of, and I quote, copyright infringement, unfair competition, and circumvention of copyright protection system, among other allegations. The company said Scapegaming was, quote-unquote, well aware that its actions were unauthorized. The total award includes over $3 million in disgorged profits, $85.4 million in statutory damages, and $64,000 in attorney fees. End quote. Scapegaming was situated in Europe, Blizzard was in USA, and they still managed to reach out and strangle them. Point being, ToS are set in place to ensure that if you do break them, the company has a leg to stand on in court. Scapegaming was not only in violation of ToS, but also of copyright infringement, as stated by the judge. However, I will be fair here. Scapegaming did not actually fight against the lawsuit, and the judge simply defaulted to Blizzard. If Scapegaming had actually fought, it would be interesting to see if the result would have been the same. But we can't deny that Blizzard did technically lose money. According to the PayPal records, Scapegaming made around $3 million in 2 years. That's a lot of millions for a private server. And the judge said, well, $200 per person sounds about right. Times that by 427,000 and you get around $85 million. A little more than $3 million, I should think. And that's really the issue with the BetterSSO server. It is making money off of an IP that is not theirs, and that could get them in legal hot water. But more than that, is BetterSSO a scam? Before I answer this question, I think it best to get into an update on the server overall. During the production for this video, the dev for BetterSSO was banned from Discord and the website was shut down. The server was still running, but the website where you could download the client was gone. The Horsey game preservation team has been at the forefront for not only reporting, but taking down BetterSSO as best they can. One of their newest posts on Reddit reads, BetterSSO has been terminated by Discord and his website has been terminated too. This is hopefully the final update, because I really hope that the server of BetterSSO will be shut down and that SSE or StarStable Entertainment can successfully pursue a lawsuit. So the website was taken down and they are hoping for SSE to take legal action against BetterSSO. But the horsey game preservation is well known for trying to make an SSO server or bring back old SSO themselves. By these posts we can see that they are not only trying but are actively pulling out game files, and they even said they want to make a server without any malware. In fact, they are very happy to even use BetterSSO's work to complete their own project for the 2016 version of the game. But what's even more strange is that in DMs with people on Reddit, they are quite adamant that their Discord has nothing to do with StarStable, even though these two channels beg to differ, where they are actively trying to bring back old SSO. I only mention this to give some context about the motivation for this group. Although yes, we are all very grateful for the work they put in, their motivations seem to be a little strange. But I'll leave it up for you guys to decide. Now, the greatest concern at this point is that this developer created and made this client and server to steal money from people. It's a very fair fear. But it doesn't make a lot of sense to add malicious software to a client you can download and play for free, and then expecting people to pay money afterwards for monthly subscriptions. If you're going to add malicious software, it would make more sense to ask them $10 or $5 for the game, get as much money as you can, and then grab and leave. I don't know, this human behavior isn't human behaving. So my personal opinion is that if this is a scam, it's not a very good one. But again, I will say that some developers use the clients that you download to get your information on top of your money and then sell the information for even extra cash. So it's not impossible. A couple of other concerns have been brought up, but to cover it all would just mean another video, and as there is a lot going on here, the point is essentially this. Don't download this client, especially if you have no know-how or understanding of how it works. Rather err on the side of caution and don't download programs that flag for viruses. To give you some idea, I did not download this because I just did not feel comfortable doing so. However, I will add to that I do feel the response to this private server was completely over the top and disproportionate. At the same time, I do understand why. Beyond the fear for viruses, this was also the first time I believe anyone has ever made a private server public to play for StarStable, or perhaps that anyone has ever even reverse engineered StarStable. It is not something this community is used to, but it is more than likely going to happen more now, because the developer is planning on making this source code accessible to everyone between 2024 and 2025. Because he went ahead and figured out the communication between server and client for 2017, smart devs will now find it easier to reach as far back as 2012. So we might see a true classic SSO in the near future. But what was also sad for me is that the developer stated that, I quote, "the code of SSO has barely changed from 2012 to 2024, and this was rather depressing, not gonna lie. It just kind of shows how little effort has been put into this game." That was just an extra thought that I just had, but yeah, I wanted to share that. But with all of this discussed and considered, I wanted to say that I don't think private servers are bad. Private servers are often created because players are frustrated. Developers and coders don't usually sit for hours reverse engineering a game because they are fine with their experience, although this dev did technically do exactly that. However, more often than not, these extreme actions stem from a deep-rooted frustration with a game they once loved. Despite its rocky start, I do believe that this server can open the door for players to re-experience the game they once loved. I'm not saying to download it, but rather that this developer has opened the door for other developers to now possibly reach as far back as 2012. I've always said this, StarStable as it stands now has no nostalgic value because everything has changed. When I boot up Spyro or my campy Sherlock Holmes games, I feel an instant rush of comfort and relaxation. I know these games, I remember the experiences and surprises I felt with these characters, and I want to go through it with them again. It's like rereading a book you once loved. But when players who have enjoyed SSO since 2012 boot up the game, they have none of that. The nostalgia is dead for them. Those ugly characters and crusty horses and terrible graphics have never been an issue for people who played this game when they were kids. These outdated visuals evoke a sense of happiness and memory and fondness that cannot be replicated no matter how nice the graphics are. And for that, I think private servers will always have value. I just hope that in future we can have them with less problems.